Hi readers, Kris here. Today I'm going to try something a little bit different. I used to talk about comics a lot back when I first started my channel. Those videos did not do so well. But now that I have some more subscribers, I figured, hey, why not try it again? So today I'm going to give you 4 reviews / recommendations if you are interested in reading any new comics. And these are comics that any beginner can read because I am not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I am just a casual comic reader and you can be too. First up today is going to be something that is probably the most popular or well-known in my video today, and that's going to be Neil Gaiman's Sandman. Now, this is just issue 1 of a whole big long run, but if you're looking to start out somewhere, this is a good place to start. So what Sandman is about on a very super basic level is that our main character is the quote-unquote Sandman, and he's kind of the lord of this dream world. He gets captured by humans. These people kind of capture him. They trap him in their basement. He's stuck there for years. The people who originally trapped him have died away. Fast forward a bunch of time, he gets out, but he's missing like a bunch of his effects, a bunch of his artifacts. He's trying to collect them so he can get back to being like this powerful person that he is. He has family that are other members of the mythology in this world. It's a cool story. Now, if you are familiar with Neil Gaiman's work at all, you should know what kind of writer he is, and this comic is definitely very much the same. So for me personally, and this is probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but Neil Gaiman is hit or miss for me, and this comic is also hit or miss for me. I know a lot of people love this one. I know a lot of people love it. I've talked about it over on Instagram a lot. I know a lot of people love it. But here's the thing for me. I feel like this comic is sort of 2 different stories, and if you like that, then this is definitely going to be a good comic for you. On one hand, we have kind of the main plot line that I was talking about, where we have our Sandman character trying to kind of reclaim his throne of the world. And then on the other hand, there's also like these kind of side story, as you will. Like there's this whole issue in here about like a random demon that takes over a diner for 24 hours and what happens there. And yes, they do like intersect at some point, but I feel like there's a lot of tangents. There's a lot of tangents in here instead of just like following the main plot line. So if you are someone who loves like diverging tangents and all this stuff, you will really like Sandman. But if you're not someone that likes that, just be warned, there's a lot of that in in this story. One of the things that I love about comics, you're going to see me say this a bunch of times, is I love how colorful they can be. So even a story that for all intents and purposes, like gets like super dark, is about, you know, devils and creatures of the dead and the underworld. Like I love like contrasting that with like super bright colors. Like, look at this. Look at how cool this is. I love the artwork in comics. So Sandman is definitely a good one to start off with. And I know that they're making a TV show or a movie. I know they've been trying to do that for a while. So if you want to get caught up and have an idea on what that's about, I would definitely recommend checking out the Sandman if just for the experience alone. Next up, I have something that's on the total opposite end of the spectrum in terms of the imagery, and that's going to be I Hate Fairyland by Skottie Young. This is a few years old now. I think volume 1 came out in 2016, I want to say, but Skottie Young is absolutely one of my favorite comic artists, and I feel like he's someone whose style you either really like or really don't like. He has a way of doing these characters where, like, they are like cute. Like no matter how evil they are, they're just cute. They're always like kind of in this small style. If you've ever heard the term like in Japanese manga, when they call something like chibi, it means like little. And I feel like Scotty Young does great at chibi characters. He does a lot of covers, but he also has some of his own comics. And this one in particular is about, we have our main character, Gert. She is grown up. She's about 30 years old, and she accidentally finds herself like falling into this fantasy land. But in fantasy land, she's only a little girl. So she has the mentality of like an adult, but she's trapped in this little girl's body. She can't curse in this world, so instead of having curse words, she says things like, flubber, fungus, like just random things, muffin hugging, like just really ridiculous stuff. And she spends her whole time here, trying to escape Fairyland and make it home. But of course, shenanigans ensue, and not everything is, she's a very violent little girl. So again, there's just something about like super dark and violent stuff contrasted with super bright colors that I absolutely love. I think this story is hysterical. I think there's 4 or 5 volumes. I don't even have them all. I have the first 3, I think. I love it. So if you're looking for something that's just like ridiculous but super fun and easy to digest, I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young. Definitely recommend this because it's super fun and funny. That's it. Just fun, funny. If you need that in your life, check out I Hate Fairyland. Now for something completely different again. If anyone has seen the new Batman movie, it's been said there's a couple different comics that the Batman is based on. I'm not going to talk about any of those today because I actually have not read them, but I am familiar with Frank Miller's work. If you don't know Frank Miller is super famous, mostly in the comic world for his work on Batman. He really created, with his Dark Knight Returns, like this whole darker version of Batman. He's also famous for his like unique black and white style that he used in Sin City. But today I'm going to talk about a maybe lesser known Frank Miller work, and that's going to be Daredevil. Yes, this is Marvel's Daredevil, like the Matt Murdock, I'm blind, but I'm a super ninja Daredevil. If you didn't know, Frank Miller did quite a long Daredevil run, I think back in the late 80s, early 90s. I forget exactly the time frame that it is in. But you can see that this is a very like classic style comic. But the reason I'm bringing this up today is because if you liked the Batman and that whole vigilante style where you're kind of taking down real life crime and mob bosses and like all that sort of stuff, that is what is in here. Daredevil and his, kind of ultimate villain is the Kingpin, who is basically the head of a mob for all intents and purposes. So this is Daredevil getting down and dirty, taking on real crime, being a cool ninja. It's just really cool stuff. It's just really good stuff. If you are looking for something like that to read, this is volume 1. It collects a whole bunch of issues that Frank Miller did. This volume actually collects comics from Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man issues 27 through 28, and then Daredevil issues 158 through 162, and 163 through 172. These are all collected to make a complete story. I always recommend going for a trade paperback or a graphic novel because I feel like you get a complete story. Because sometimes comic books happen in like all different pieces. Do yourself a favor, read a complete story from front to back. And if you've seen the Daredevil Netflix show, which I think is now a Disney Plus show, but the old Netflix show, you will recognize a lot of the stuff that happens in here. So if that is what you're looking for, recommend Frank Miller's Daredevil. Finally, I have a new comic book to share with you. And by new, I mean new to me, and that's going to be Nottingham. So this was published by Mad Cave Comics, which is like an independent publishing house. I'm not super familiar with them. I think this is the first comic I've read for them, by them. My husband actually got this one last year and gave it to me to read, and I literally just finished it earlier today, which is kind of what inspired me to make this video. So if you can't tell from the cover, this is basically a retelling of Robin Hood. So Robin Hood and his merry men stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. But in this tale, in this version, Robin Hood is the villain. Robin Hood is the villain. Like, yes, he's stealing from the rich, but he's not actually giving to the poor. He says he is, but he's keeping the money for himself, and he's just straight up going around, like, murdering people, just killing people left and right. So in this one, Robin Hood is not a great guy. He is doing some shady stuff, and our sheriff here, our sheriff of Nottingham, he is kind of out there trying to take Robin down. And of course, you think that he's kind of, misguided at first, but it turns out, Robin Hood and his merry men are quite bad. We also have a version of Maid Marian in here. Really enjoying the artwork in this one. Super, super cool. There's only one volume out of this one so far. The second one supposedly is going to be released later this year. So if you are a fan of Robin Hood, if you're a fan of retellings, if you're just a fan of comics and looking for something different to read, I definitely recommend Nottingham. You have plenty of time to get caught up before Volume 2 comes out later this year. That's all for Comic Talk today. If you liked this video, definitely let me know which comics you are most interested in. Some more classic comics, newer comics, Golden Age, Silver Age comics, or super new comics. Let me know so I know what kind of videos to make in the future. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. And I will be talking to you later. Happy reading!